I got some single sheet, right, email, telling me that you guys make decision that you would like to have a class next time, which is gonna be presentation, paper and presentation, which I'm aware that it's too soon. Therefore, it's okay for me if you just do presentation and then you can hand in your report to me on the last day that we're gonna have a class, which is gonna be May 1st. Alright?
Good.
Okay. So, and on May 1st, we're gonna have a special guest lecturer that will give a talk about compensation management. Alright, that's our plan. Therefore, today is gonna be our last section, that we're gonna have case and lecture. Okay, here is our plan. I'm gonna as just like usual, I will begin with wrap up about performance management, which is thank for our last group that did very great job, in details and with very actually presentation is very informative with example and cases. But anyway, I just try to maybe add something a little bit, unless you have something in particular that you would like me to address. If not, we will probably proceed with last case today training. Show hand, is your group? Yeah, okay. So therefore, maybe we have, and hopefully that we have some time left for me to wrap up after the presentation. Right? So that's gonna be all. Thank you. Okay. So this is what we call performance management. In the past, this function we just refers as performance appraisal or performance evaluation. Okay, this is the same. Performance appraisal or performance evaluation, those are the same thing. But since when we use the term performance evaluation or appraisal, it just gives an idea that is HR work. But we want line manager to get involved in this process. Therefore, later nowadays, when you look at HR textbook or in any in HR magazine, most people refer to this function as performance management. But as you can see that it doesn't mean that performance management is exactly the same with performance appraisal. That is a little bit different in the way that performance appraisal is a part of performance management. In the other way, performance management is a big idea, big concept that helps to manage employee performance, which is how, okay? So when to manage employee performance, to make parts can be appraisal and performance feedback. But look at this picture together. Actually, this quite give a clear idea about the performance management process. As you can see that we begin with step 1, which is we have to define performance outcome in the other word, goal that organization would like to achieve. And those goals will be cascaded down and down to individual level. Okay, so this is become like what each individual have to achieve. Maybe it can be in one cycle, can be a half a year, or it can be a year. It depends on organization policy. All right, but it's not just employees have their own goal, but together with this, it's require guidance in the other word, ongoing communication between manager and employees. In the other word, coaching become major elements in performance management. We want managers to act like coach, not just someone try to build and in the end of the cycle just fill in the paperwork for HR in terms of appraisal. That is not what we hope to happen. We want manager to act as a coach to provide guidance, have discussion with employees, and therefore, when for step 4 should not be big surprise to employees because they have been told about their performance, and after that, from the cycle, we need a paperwork to evaluate employees' performance, and we use that result to reward in the other one to maybe make decision regarding promotion, maybe rotation, or maybe raises for each employees. And we use that information for improvement. In the other one for development, which is going to be next issue, right? When we do training, it's not just what we want to train employees, but maybe what they lack of, which is part of information can come from evaluation. So this is big idea, big picture, what we call performance management. All right, and this is come from part of your question in the case talking about purpose. Purpose is later, but this is about the criteria in performance management, which is I believe that last book already include in details, which is when we come up with performance management system or evaluation, it should be congruent with strategy. In the other word, if you recall some posts, selling shoes on internet that pay attention, they highly pay attention on the organizational culture. When they evaluate their employees, they don't have KPI for each employee. They evaluate their employees according to behavior that consistent to their values, which is that have 10 values like deliver well through service, a little bit weird, wildness, something like that. So that's talking about strategic congruence that we try to come up with performance management that supports strategy. That is one criteria, and other criteria, this is similar to selection that we talk about validity. It can measure what it's supposed to measure. This is just I don't want to repeat it again. Therefore, I'm gonna pass this fast. All right, so that's five criteria of performance measure. And this just something that you are familiar. In fact, this is in your after final exam. We're talking about justice, and we apply not only that we apply justice in compensation. Later, when you learn about compensation, we try to make sure that we compensate the employee fairly. But in terms of evaluation, we want to make sure that we evaluate each employee fairly. Which is when we talk about fairness, it can in terms of procedural, it can be interpersonal or outcome. All right. And next, this is benefit of performance. The reason that we talk about benefit of performance appraisal is because nowadays lots of people beginning to patient benefit of evaluation. As from maybe from your experience, some of you may have a question like if we really get valid information from evaluation, meaning that most of us feel that evaluation depends on if your subordinate like you or not. If your subordinate like you, chances are you have good evaluation and vice versa. Therefore, later I will end with one recent article in Harvard Business Review that talking about some organization they stop do formal evaluation in the organization. For example, Adobe, that's type of that they consider themselves an advanced organization that they don't believe in benefits of evaluation. But anyway, it's not like yes or no, but we can find benefits. For example, that can be used in information to give feedback. This can be great benefit if we got valid information. And also a regular basis for constructing bonus or merit system, and use that information to help employees to improve themselves. And for employee perspective, they want feedback because they want where they are standing at. And that is one mechanism to make them feel that this is fair for them in terms of to make decision about bonuses or raises in the organization. All right, that's the reason that we convinced that why we should keep performance evaluation. But in the end again, Facebook also one company they say, wait a minute, we still keep performance evaluation even though lots of organizations they're stopping performance evaluation. But anyway, before that, this is way or method when we evaluate, which I think last presentation did a very nice job that explain about this method. Therefore, I will go over this fast unless you have questions. Okay? It's essential that we understand to our method that we can use in evaluation. It can be, well, first comparative, meaning that we compare. It can be simple ranking, for example, when we have like 10 employees. In ranking, who is the first one, second one, third one, and so forth, but for alternation, you compare between, best and worst and come up with the ranking. But anyway, this can be good and bad. For good, it's easy when we use that result to maybe reward because it's quite clear who is number one, number two, number three, number four. But for this method, it just gives us a rough idea. It's no details why that person is got number one or why that person is the worst one or actually the bottom one. And it's probably have not a lot of information to give feedback. And next this is something that maybe some kind of organization still using, force distribution. Meaning that this is from Jack Welch. Jack Welch fell in love with the idea that everything has to be normal distribution. This came from when Jack Welch, Jack Welch first went to GE to turn around GE. GE was in big difficulty in terms of financial difficulty. But the thing is, when look at employees' performance, everyone seems to have good performance, which is should be that way. And everyone seems to have like really very high score. Therefore, Jack will come up with a system that have to force. For example, 20% can be A, 20% can be B, and 10% is C. Because just like everything, it's normal distribution. That we have someone who's very good at top one versus a few people. And most people, average. And, we have C. And when someone is in C category, time to shop the debut. Therefore, when someone in C, first time maybe you got special attention, maybe training, maybe job rotation. But for the second time, if you don't get better, if you still be in that C position, you have to be let go. That's the philosophy of force distribution and the way that Jack will apply in GE. At that time, it worked very well. Maybe because organization have crisis. But nowadays, especially as researcher, we question this method. We question that this method gonna be good. It's because it can affect morale of employees. Because employees feel like, well, I have to compete with everyone all the time. And worse, especially in Thai organization. I don't know if your organization use this method. But I asked some of my students before, and some of my students said, yeah, we still use this method. But we use with Thai style, meaning that we in the beginning of the year or end of the year, we talk and then we take turn to be in C. So that's not the way that you're supposed to do, with forcing. But Thai style, พี่น้อง we don't want anyone to get in trouble, so we take turn. So it's that not supposed to be. But anyway, even GE or lots of organizations that used to use this system, they stop using this system because it's not good for employees more in the long term. All right, so that's the ranking, or comparative. But next is rating, meaning that it has nothing to do with other. It's just for each individual. It can be graphic rating scale, which is we very familiar with this technique. For example, we have knowledge, communication, maybe from 1 to 5, and it's easy. But the problem is that, what is the difference between 5 and 4? What about 4 and 3? So we require a lot of work from HR to provide description for each level. All right. So, but sometimes HR do a good job. Sometimes HR do a lousy job. It depends on quality of HR. That. Or we, can look at behavioral approach, which is we have which is even though the terms sound good, but this method is less popular because it's quite hard to use. For example, like BOR, Behavioral Anchor Rating Scale, or Behavior Observation Scales. That's it's actually it came from research, but it's hard to use. It's quite complicated, so it's not really something that we use in reality in the organization. All right. Next, competency model. I believe that some of your organizations are using competency. But when we do competency, most of the time we do not evaluate competency very often because we believe that this is talking about potential is different from performance. Therefore, most of the time it's just like once a year. But for performance, it can be twice a year. And then organization, for example, as far as I know, SCG combine between performance and competency together to identify talent in the organization, which is we already talked about this competency earlier in the beginning of this course. All right, last result. This is get a lot of attention. The reason is because manager would like to make evaluation to be more objective. As you can see that for previous method, it can be very subjective. It's judgment. For example, in knowledge, quality of work, that's all depend on judgment of each individual, which can be different. When we look at some evaluator. Therefore, right now we try to make evaluation to be objective by using number. Therefore, I would link this to goal setting theory. If you recall, we have two parts in motivation. One part in motivation is content perspective. The content perspective talking about what we can use to motivate employees. In the other word, what people need. So when we know their needs, we can use that. As we understand their motive. But another part of motivation theory is we call process, which is we try to understand how and why. And since we don't have a lot of time, therefore we just finish part of the content theory and some part in process theory, which is we talk about empathy theory. But we still have some theory left. So this is the time that I will include, and I think this is a good place that I was talking about this theory. All right, so goal setting theory. Normally, we use goal setting theory to motivate us, for leader to motivate followers, so we know what they want and we use that. But we also use goal setting theory in performance management. But before we apply, let's talk about idea behind goal setting theory. Goal setting theory is, because it's actually amongst those theory. Goal setting theory have the most support. If you recall when we're talking about like Maslow, we're talking about Herzberg, I said we have a lot of criticism about those theory. But for goal setting theory seem to have a lot of empirical research support. Maybe because it's the more recent ones in the field. Well, it's origin of goal setting theories come from research. That they compare between I think it's truck driver performance between have goal and not have goal, and it turned out that when truck driver have goal, truck driver have higher performance. Why goal can have performance? And this is the reason. When we have goal, it gives us direction, meaning that we know what we are expected, so we can put our effort to that direction. And if you recall, motivation comprises of three parts: direction, intensity, and persistence. So when we have direction, this is already part of motivation because when we have goal, we know what we have to do. So that, or when, for example, if you would like to prepare for your final exam, if you tell yourself, I have to, I try to study, compared to I have goals and I have to finish one chapter each night. That goal, So when we have goal, we can set our mind to that direction, and we can regulate our effort. It can help to increase our persistence. Why it increase our persistence? Because as human beings, we naturally would like to achieve something, and this is why we enjoy playing games. Even though we have to pay money to play games, but games give us a sense of accomplishment. Achieve something, especially when you see your score on the scoreboard. it give you enjoyment, not only just the process that you enjoy while you play game, but because this is human being we would like to achieve. Therefore, when we have goal, it's like it enhance our persistence to overcome obstacle that we may experience to achieve the goal that we set in our mind. And not only that, it's also encourage the development of goal attainment strategy. We come up with a way how I can achieve those goals when I have goal, because I will feel good if I achieve those goals. So try to come up with way strategy. Therefore, just only have goal can be very powerful, and it has nothing to do with reward. Just have goal can drive performance and just that. But imagine that if you try goal achievement with reward, it even can be very powerful. But just you don't have goal can drive person performance, and this is again it came from research, and lots of research support that. All right. So since this is came from research, all of these 6 questions also came from research. First, the more difficult the goal, the higher performance will be. True or false? True or false? And the answer is this is from research. True. So better that you set difficult goal. Or in organization they have to like stretch goal. You try to drive people performance, not easy goal. Because when it's easy, people can do it, but sometimes you can do something that you don't think that you can do just because you try to push yourself harder. Therefore, it have to be difficult goal, challenging goal. But the thing is, according to this picture, see, performance get higher, from is easy, moderate, difficult. But level of difficulty should not have beyond impossibility. Because if person believe that it's impossible for me to do, so okay, no effort or whatsoever. Okay, so but again, it depends on each individual, because this is Mary Poppins, probably she doesn't believe in impossibility. So anyway, so it's the way that manager have to manage perception with employees and try to make employees believe that they can do it. That's talking about level of difficulty, that when we set goal next time, try to go with challenge goal that can drive performance. Second, do your best goal maximize performance. This is true or false? False. Good goal have to be specific, because do your best, who's best? Your best can be different from my best. Employee best can be different from boss best. Therefore, we have to be specific. When we set goal, specific means that good goal have to be something that we can we know what we want exactly, how, when, whom, something like that. And most of the time, it's come off, the quality that we call is just measurable. How much, how well, at what cost. Alright, so from question number 1 and number 2, we got quality of effective goal that have to be specific, measurable, achievable, but will have to be challenged. Therefore, this is something that some of you have heard before, that good goal have to be SMART, which is come from this specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, within employees' control, or relevant to business. If it has nothing to do with employee control, it's not a good goal. Time frame must have due date, because everything can go on. If you set due date, it have to be finished or somehow. Therefore, good goal have to be SMART, but since I want to be a little bit different, therefore I saw this version smarter. Exciting employee commitment, not just compliance, review, feedback, recognition, and goal progress and accomplishment. And some of you who saw my friends on my Facebook, when we saw this before on my status, that I taught undergrad about SMART goal, and then I asked undergrad to come up with goal for me. At the time it's getting close to Valentine, and one of my students said, your goal to have a husband before Valentine. Okay, and then I asked my student, okay, is it good goal or not? And some of students raise their hand and say it's not a good goal, and I say why? And they say because it's achievable. For me, it's too difficult. Therefore, it's not a good goal. But to me, I just explain to students that actually the part that is not good is relevant because for that type of relationship, it's not just you, it's another person, and actually it's not relevant in terms of my growth. So it doesn't mean that our life have to depend on having that type of relationship. Anyway, so back to this question. Okay, feedback enhance effect of specific difficult goals. True or false? Yes, feedback can be a great help when we use with goal setting. Okay, so should have provide feedback. And number 4, participative goal, which is you have employees share idea when you set goal. Assign goal mean goal may be from top executive and assign to employees. Self-set goal meaning that you have each individual set down goal are equally effective, true or false. And this is from research. True, equally effective. It doesn't matter who set goal, as long as employee understand that goal and if they buy in those goals. Because in some research they find that self-set goal higher than participate goal or assigned goal can be that too. It doesn't mean that when people set down goal they're gonna set low goal. It's not necessarily that way. Therefore, in research, and some researchers just find that it doesn't matter as long as employee they understand that goal. So it's it can be participative or assigned goal. Number 5, goal commitment affect goal setting outcome. Yes, okay, true. When people commit with goal, it can enhance goal setting outcome. And number 6, monetary incentive for goals always improve goal setting outcomes. True or false? False. It's false because always. When we see always in exam, chances are not really. We find that especially very, very difficult goal is not monetary incentive, but it's non-monetary incentive. When it's very, very difficult, people, maybe I don't, it's okay for that money. But when it's something, for example, you do it for your own countrymen, for example, just like, sport player, even though it's difficult, but they think that they just want to do it for the country, maybe that's can motivate them even more. When we compare between monetary incentive versus non-monetary incentive. Alright, so that's this idea behind goal setting theory. Therefore, when goal setting theory is very powerful, is applied in business expression about balance scorecard. Maybe some of you, I think most of you probably familiar with this idea, right? Are you familiar with balance scorecard? Or are you? Okay, because this idea talking about that when we set goal for employee, we should include 4 perspectives. Because in the past, organizations just focus on only financial perspective. But when we focus on a financial perspective, it's just something that just happened. So it's just look at in the past, we cannot do anything much. Therefore, we call it balance because try to get balance between past, which is finance, and future. Future is learning and growth. Choose that goal that deal with learning and growth, and also inside, internal or operation inside, and also goal that involve outside, which is marketing or customer. So it get balanced because that it look at past and future and inside and outside. So this is why it's called balance. All right. So anyway, when we set balance, scorecard is when we come up with KPI for organization and then cascade so KPI down until at the individual level. That's have KPI that support organizational goal. That's balance scorecard. That's quite popular. But now something that more popular is we call OKR. objective key result area. Maybe some of you have heard from news that anybody work for the tag? You know, it's, I think it's a couple months ago, something. You have this, okay, so DTAG announced that they stop using KPI in their organization, which is well, quite get attention, can call attention. The reason is because most organizations are using KPI, and it's KPI can be like pain in the ass. For example, when I do training for like in the bank, and we talking about KPI, lots of people share their feeling toward KPI that they really don't like KPI, something like that. Anyway, for DTAG announced that they stop using KPI. That is some headline. So we just okay, that's very advanced maybe that DTAG and stop using KPI. But if you read news or the news, it turned out that DTAG doesn't use KPI, but DTAG turned to OKR, which is I think is another version of KPI. Therefore, I don't really understand that news. Why? Okay, but anyway, if someone talking about OKR or objective key result area, or some even say KOR, key objective result area, is the same. It doesn't matter, which comes first. It's pretty much similar to KPI, but for OKR, it will be more specific than KPI. In the other, it's narrow KPI and it will focus. Each one will not have like more than 6 OKR. As you can see, this is this objective. And by the way, OKR is getting popular because people try to follow Google, and this is how Google evaluate employees. They evaluate based on their OKR, and this is the example that that's one of Google executive share his OKR. One of his objectives is to improve blogger reputation. So key result, we establish blogger leadership by speaking at 3 industry events. So as you can see, it all have quality of smart, specific, measurable, time frame, something like that. But it's just more narrow when we compare to KPI, just that. But actually, Google has been using OKR for like, I think more than 10 years. If I'm not wrong, they start using in 1994. But for a reason, it just get popular in Thailand. There's a lot of people talking about OKR, but another, I think it's another version of a KPI. Nothing very much different, but if you want to distinguish, we can say that OKR focus on objective and can be very narrow, when compared to KPI. And this is how to create OKR, which is when we have that OKR, we have like score for each OKR to see that's how much each individual achieve their OKR, just like similar to KPI. But anyway, something that I would like to get your attention is that when business school talk about KPI, it seems like organization go crazy about KPI, and everything has to be KPI. Therefore, I just would like to add something different, a little bit different. But it doesn't mean that I am against KPI. But I just want us to see KPI in a lot of angles, okay? According to Albert Einstein, everything that can be counted does not necessarily count. Everything that counts cannot necessarily be counted. You understand this statement, right? So let me explain with my example. As Juฬาprofessor, university professor, what should be my SMART goal? If we follow, KPI or SMART goal, what should be my SMART goal? As professor, as university professor, what should be my SMART goal? not finding husband because I'm not talking about my personal life. I'm talking about my work goal. What should be my work goal and SMART goal? Huh? Anybody would like to help?
Higher students score as it reflects student
See,
understanding.
this is when you're talking about high student score. It's not relevant. It's not about me. It's not about my performance. It's your performance. It's not my performance, right? Professor, you understand? you can try very very hard, but if student not really good, they don't pay attention, they skip classes, they don't study, chances are they cannot get a good grade. But if we use that to evaluate professor, what gonna happen? Professor will give very easy grade because this is my evaluation. So this is not good. It's not smart. It's not smart goal. So what should be smart goal for professor?
Publications.
The class evaluation.
Evaluation. Well, evaluation actually it's not smart because evaluation is judgmental. It's subjective. It's not objective. And most of the time we know that if professor are kind, evaluation will be good. But if professor very tough, evaluation chances are not good because of bias from student. Alright, so and this is why Jula don't use student evaluation to reward professor because our student are our product or our customer. So we want to have good product. If students are not our customer, then we try to please customer. So we just we try to our best to get good product. Therefore, sometimes we do something that students don't like. Okay, it's not evaluation, but you're talking about publication, right? Again, maybe some people we have very very good publication, but you think that person is a good university professor? Probably not, because that person who spend a lot of time overwhelmed with researching cannot have a lot of time to prepare for a lecture, don't have time for students. So for me, I think that something that very meaningful in university is that you help students, make them to be good and better. But those are very something that it cannot be counted. And this is example that from Albert Einstein say something that we want good student as a product of university. But how we can count work of professor? It's not about number of publication. It doesn't mean that when professor have good publication, professor will be good professor and help to get students to learn. Not necessarily. Maybe that professor just overwhelmed with his or her research and doesn't have enough time to student. So but again, I'm not against goal setting theory, but it's just the way that we apply goal setting theory have to be in balance with other things. It's not just like okay, just because it's smart and then we use that goal. All right, so that's goal setting theory and apply in evaluation. Okay, next is when we're talking about 360 degrees, mean that information come from or direction. Because when we believe that if just manager evaluate, maybe just what happen if manager like or dislike employees, it can become biased. Therefore, what about have information for or sources, just like circle, from peer, from customer, even from employee or somebody name. So this is 360 degree. Is it good or bad? Anybody use 360 degree in your organization? Anybody use 360 degree? Well, some use, but some don't. But again, in terms of research, we do not support 360 degree. The reason is because we don't think it's worth time and effort. Because it's require information from a lot of people and it's working on its time. And it's not just about because it's used a lot for a time, but in the end of the day, when it's 360 degree, so since it's mutual benefit, if I have to evaluate my boss and my boss have to evaluate me, therefore we just give good grade to each other because we just benefit each other. Therefore we end up with not really get valid information anyway. Or when peer evaluates us, or us have to evaluate peer. So it's just like mutual benefit. Therefore, in terms of researcher, we believe that 360 degree will be benefit if organization use just for only development, not for management. Development meaning use that information in training, but it have nothing to do with promotion, with bonuses or raises. Because one is have something to do with interest. It can contaminate quality of information that we get from evaluation. But part of that can form organizational culture. Some organizational culture can support 360 degree. Alright. Challenges to effective performance measurement. It can come from, most of the time, it's rhetoric error and bias, influence of liking, organizational politics. So when we're talking about bias, let me explain about this bias. This is classic study, real study, that they pair between manager and subordinate in same incident, in same situation, and ask manager to let him or herself what did in performance evaluation. For example, give information about past performance, career development, performance development, need for supervisor help, and future performance goal, and ask subordinate to do that. As you see that there's gap, manager thought that they did great in each part in evaluation, but for subordinate not really good. For example, when talking about like past performance, I give 3, but manager give themselves 4, something like that. Therefore, even though it's the same thing, it doesn't mean that we can view the same thing in the same way. Because when we're talking about performance evaluation, it's perception. Therefore, there can have bias in evaluation. Alright, so therefore, let's talk about bias, why we have bias. And this is the reason that we have bias, because most of the time when we see something, we hear something, that information. And since we are human, we cannot get all information to ourselves. We have limitation. So we just select some information and then we interpret that information. Once we do that, we give meaning to that information. Therefore, each individual, when we see same thing, we can select information differently, we can interpret differently, we can respond differently. And for example, this picture, maybe some can see this is picture of 2 old people, or maybe some see one person playing musical instrument. So that's one picture it depends on how you see. Or from this picture you can see it as waterfall, or maybe some can see maybe people, and maybe some will say, oh, this is nuns. Just because wearing white, so they are none. So this is interpretation. Actually, if you don't interpret, if you don't get meaning, it's just like people. If you see people wearing white, it's just that. But sometimes we give meaning and then it leads to other things. This can be rabbit, or can be a dog, or it can be a man playing horn, or a woman. And this picture, what is it? What did you see? What did you see in this picture? Research shows that young children cannot identify the intimate couple because they do not have prior memory. They just follow you and they see that picture before. So they see as 9 dolphins. So is it the test to determine if you already have a corrupted mind? If it's hard for you to find dolphin within 3 seconds, your mind is indeed corrupt. Okay, so 3 seconds.
Totally
One more
corrupted.
Can you see my dolphin?
All right.
Why is dolphin?
The black
My
parts.
dolphin. Okay.
The dark
Let me
parts are
help.
dolphins.
I'm short, therefore I begin with the lowest one. This is dolphin, this is head, and this is tail. This is head, this is tail, and this is head. Nine dolphin. My message. Okay, my message is that adults and children, because of past experience, makes them view this picture differently. And it's the same from the past experience that we have. We can view even something that identical can be different. So it leads to bias. Okay, and this is bias in performance evaluation. It can be leniency. Some supervisors is lenient, so give very high score, or strictness, maybe very strict, or bias has no central tendency error. Especially in Asia, we people say that Asians tend to go with something in the middle, maybe to be safe. Since we have to work together anyway, therefore 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, that's it. So and it's not really distinguished in terms of performance. That's a type of error in performance evaluation. Or it can be halo, or it can be horns. Halo means that because of something is outstanding about that person. Maybe that person never miss a day at work, and that person always go to work on time very early. So in terms of evaluation, that person will get high score in everything because of halo effect. Because subordinate may view that because of that positive, outstanding quality, make that person to be good in other things. Therefore, nickname of halo effect is Brad Pitt syndrome, because Brad Pitt is very handsome. So we believe that Brad Pitt is so perfect in lots of ways. But who knows that probably Brad Pitt is probably afraid of a dog or maybe something like that. So that's that halo. But on contrary, Horn's error, meaning that one person have negative things, negative quality, and it can make other people to develop overall impression about that person that everything is bad. So when in terms of evaluation, we have to let employee depends on each criteria, not just everything has to be good. Because of halo, everything has to be bad just because of horn effect. Or it can be similar to me error because we like ourselves. Normally this is just as a human. Therefore, when something similar to us, we think is good. Contrast error meaning that we contrast performance with other person, or we contrast performance to previous year. But actually, it has to be just by that performance. That's other type of evaluation. Alright, answer this question together. Bill rates all his employees very low except for Jan. Bill gives Jan above average rating because she consistently comes to work on time. Bill makes a rating error of da for his team and da for Jan. This is
B, right?
the answer is B, very good. Because Bill is very tough, so very low. Everyone low except for Jan because of halo effect, because she someone work on time. Okay, how to avoid pressure problems? Learn understand problems. Use the right person to train supervisor about that error. Review outside factors, time constraint. Keep diary in the other word. Another bias is what we call recency. Recency error meaning that when we evaluate, we tend to just use information that just recently happened. But we can handle that biases. We keep daily, meaning that we take notes, about employees' performance. So we have enough information when we evaluate employees. In reality, I see very few managers do that. Okay, so how to improve performance? Set improve goals, exhibit comfort, allow employees influence, provide constructive feedback. Okay, this part come to something recent. This is not from textbook, but this is come from article talking about Deloitte. Anybody work for Deloitte? But I asked students who work for Deloitte. It turned out that Deloitte haven't implement this in Thailand. Maybe just in the US. It turned out that when Deloitte evaluate the employees, just before it's just by like each project, they have KPI and then they ask a manager for each project to rate employees. But it's like it took a lot of time for manager to evaluate with long question in evaluation. Therefore, right now, when Deloitte evaluate employee, they just use only 4 questions. This is 4 questions, and once again, this is Deloitte in the US, not in Thailand. Question number 1: given what I know of this person's performance, and if it were my money, I would award this person the highest possible compensation increase in bonus, and this is on 5 scale. Number 2, given what I know of this person's performance, I would always want him or her on my team. Okay, 5 scale. This person is at risk of poor performance, yes or no? This person is ready for promotion today, yes or no? Just 4 questions. Just that's it for evaluation in Deloitte. So it takes time of evaluator and mostly it's manager. That's and Deloitte claim that they're happy with this evaluation. All right, and this is from question in the case, which is in the case that's asana, apply or 3 perspective, administrative, strategic, developmental. Okay, last. This is just recent came out talking about reinventing performance appraisal. When we look at performance appraisal, it can have 2 purposes. One is accountability, which is traditional appraisal, meaning that when we evaluate because we want to see if the employee performed their job, if the employee is accountable, that's accountability. But for development, we evaluate because we want information to give feedback to employees, to help employees improve themselves. And as you can see that right now, this is a list of some organizations, for example, Adobe, that claim they stop doing evaluation. Instead of just having evaluation, they have instant feedback, meaning that you don't have to wait maybe like a half a year to just have formal evaluation and give feedback. Feedback should be like ongoing conversation, discussion between manager and subordinate. And it could some like Juniper system, Dell, Microsoft, and GE that have instant feedback. But anyway, and this is way that we look at performance evaluation. As you can see that we have like 3 colors. Yellow color is used evaluation for the purpose of accountability. Make sure that if employee perform their job, did they do something that they're supposed to do? That's the yellow one. But for the blue one, for development, but for the green one, hybrid, combine between these 2. As you can see that in the beginning, we use evaluation for the purpose of accountability, make sure the employee perform their job. But later, for example, like World War II, use evaluation for development, but back to accountability and to development and screen, for example, like GE. But when there is a big crisis, especially economic crisis, organization back to use evaluation for to make sure that employees are accountable, they perform their job, starting from like 1970s until 2000. So that's we therefore we just grew up with the idea that evaluation is something that to make sure that we perform our job. But starting in 2011, Kelly Service was the first big professional service that dropped reprisal, and other firms follow that. For example, like Adobe, as I just mentioned. But for some organization, for example, like Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they go in the middle, meaning that it's not just to use evaluation to make sure the employee perform their job, but just only use it for the purpose of development. And as for example, just like the question that you saw earlier, and also and actually I believe that I think PricewaterhouseCoopers, yes, they dropped evaluation, but later they brought that evaluation back. And the reason that they brought that back because employees want to have evaluation. The reason that employees want to have evaluation because they want complete information to show that where they're standing at. Because they have like career path to be partner. So they want to know that how well I'm doing. So without evaluation, probably they have no idea. Therefore, for this organization that dropped evaluation, but later they bring back. But of course, when they bring that back, it's not just like full version of evaluation. It's just like some part that help employees to know in terms of to give feedback. And this is Facebook. How Facebook evaluate. This come out as an article that talking about wait a minute, the job perform evaluation because it's become trend. That advanced organization, if you want to keep, you will announce that we stop doing evaluation. But Facebook is organization that consider that they need to be hip organization, but they say we will still do evaluation. But as you can see, these are steps that can be very unique for Facebook. Step 1, begin with peer right evaluation, share it with manager one another. So it's like very transparent. And Facebook can do this because it's their organizational culture that open, transparent. But as you can imagine, maybe even if your organization begin with this process, I doubt that you will get the valid information or it will not cause problem in the organization. But it's work in Facebook because of their culture that's very transparent. And then manager discuss together about that. Manager write performance review. In the other word, this is 90 degree. It's not 360 degree. But they just get input from other. But the one that will write evaluation is manager. But after that, they have committee. They have like special committee to look at this review. Make sure that those review are free from bias. Because in United States, they have like discrimination, for example, racial, gender, sexual discrimination, and so on, age discrimination. So those committee make sure that, no bias, and then use that result in terms of to compensate or to reward employees. This is some step in what Facebook is doing. Okay. Interview meaning that give feedback. So this is something that's from the presentation. So I think it's gonna go fast. Nothing much. All right. So I think I'm done with perform evaluation. So we finished that. Okay. Therefore, would you like to take a break now, or you would like to continue with the case study? Which you prefer? Would you like to continue with the case, or would you like to take a break? What would you like to do?
Let's take the break.
Okay, so let's take a break and then we continue with the case, and then after case,